And so it was, the author wrote, easier said than done. Easier to stab a man than hang him by a rope. A lot had happened, the author knew, even while he nurses his headache with honeydew. By all rights, he should be retired, but his freedom was not yet acquired. They had come close, this much is true, and as he looked at the young form huddled under clothes, he knew it was almost due. The price we pay, the enchantments we weave, if he had his choice, he'd take the girl and leave. He'd run away from the book, from fate, from it all, and even if he did, he knew it'd never end any other way. And so he wrote, he continued to scribe, for Scribus had once been a name to which he subscribed. Not very imaginative, that much he was aware, but in the end, in a book, life often wasn't very fair. He stood outside of it, out in a place and time, somewhere between everywhere, where he still heard the prayers sublime. He had failed, his time had come and gone, and so it was up to others to take up the bond. Time was a funny thing. In a book, it held little meaning. You might think otherwise, living your life on a page, but the truth be told, living years often means little more than mere days. It is when you are observed, when you are read, that you are made to bleed. For without a reader, there is no need. The author stood up, walking to the mirror's edge, watching slowly as the world sank beyond the ledge. The disk, it was called by astronomers of old, but he knew his place in the hearts of old. He had penned the original draft, or so he believed, even though he didn't remember his name. It was kind of a relief. The contract, covenant, pact, and belief. It was what had bound the nine, of which he knew three. It was hard to watch them give up the fight. It was hard to watch them make the greatest sacrifice. It was more than a drink, that sacred cup, for there are truly worse things, such as being forgotten beyond the brink. That was the price they paid to cast the die of old, a gamble, a venture, seeking hearts of bold. Wealth beyond measure, beyond imagining, was promised to those souls, yet they don't remember it and now seek to gather gold. True wealth lies not in the objects or secluded coves, it lies in friends and allies, of faith and of love and growth. Above all and beyond, the author knew, it lay in the hope of mankind and their offerings at the pew. A woman lay scattered, neither here nor on the material plane. Instead, she crawled, wounded, the ethereal fane. Few could venture in that dangerous place. It was kept under lock and key, a secure place. It dwelled there, lurked large and monstrous, a limb scattered, an injury disastrous. Another limb had been killed, that much he could sense, with a crystalline blade and by a woman of great intent. She would be a boon, he knew that to be true, for while death was inevitable, it was a little too soon. The frost would rise in the chill air. One of the four had fallen, but had selected no heir. There was one, of course, but she chose another path, refusal to cut. Refusal to slash. No blade recovered, no victory imminent. He had no choice but to write her interment. Her bond would not be 5 minutes, for that one was old and dethroned. Evot was his name, and chaos was his stone. Like a rock, icy and cruel, she would plunge back to the earth until another was chosen. After all, a relic was free, an artifact was stolen. A blade so grand it was plunged into the heart of all who came to see, and their deaths from Dalran. They still walk away despite no injury, lest another object be recovered and not washed in the leaves. The author waited, curious with his foresight. He wondered if his heroes would understand the people's plight. Years upon years, those who survived such wounds, even though they never felt it, even though they were already doomed. No blood was dropped, yet it was spilled. The holes were already dug. They just aren't filled. And so she falls, a ball of ice and steel. Into the west she goes, underneath a hill. Her brother would know, the author grimaced. He would begin to remember the blood in the snow.